Welcome to the Badass Direct Sales Mastery Podcast with your direct sales dom, Jennie Bellinger. Badass Direct Sales Mastery is a podcast for rock star direct sales moms who are determined to make their business kick ass. Jennie will share her knowledge of effective sales and recruiting techniques, tips to get what you want from your business, and will interview direct sales professionals and leaders from various companies. The interviews will give insight to how these rock stars got to where they are and where they plan to grow in the future. And now, the direct sales dom, Jennie Bellinger.
Welcome back to another episode of Badass Direct Sales Mastery. I'm your host, Jennie Bellinger, your direct sales dom, helping you whip your business into shape. Now, if you've been listening to the podcast and been listening in order, you know that my most recent summit in March of 2022 just finished up, and I'm recording this episode, How I'm Whipping My Business into Shape, very shortly afterwards, because I didn't want to forget all of the lessons I learned from not only putting on the summit, but actually participating in interviewing and talking with all of the various speakers that we had around. So some of the lessons I want to start with are ones that are really easy and translate over for you as a direct sales or network marketing consultant. And the first lesson is really the importance of having a team to support you, having a group of people around you. If you've ever heard some of the interviews that I have done on Tales of a Latin Mommy with Melanie Arce, you've heard me talk about my Goddess Council. And my Goddess Council is the group of people who's around me who help give me support, whether it's emotional, whether it's intellectual support, whether it's physical resources, whether it's financial resources, just so many different people around supporting me. And I call them the Goddess Council, not because they are all women. My people who are around me is a great mix of people of all genders and non-genderness, non-binariness. I've got people from all different socioeconomic levels who are a part of my Goddess Council, giving me support in different ways. And the reason I call them the Goddess Council is because they are the council around the goddess that is me. So the importance of having the team, it just cannot be stated enough. And if you are currently in a position where you don't have support for your business, where you don't have support for your life, seek that out and really look for people who can and will support you in a very Ohana way. And if you don't know what I'm talking about with Ohana, please go find my episode with Scott Conway where he talks about Ohana as a way of being. So having that team of support around you is so, so important. To give you some specifics of the people who are around me who supported me during my summit, I've got to say my number one support is my boyfriend, Marcel Brown. He really helped support me, not just in the technology pieces and making sure that everything was working and helping oversee that everything flowed technology-wise as good as possible, but he also provided support at home. He helped make sure that dinners were taken care of. He helped make sure that my kids were quiet and taken care of so that way they weren't down here during times when I was interviewing speakers. He provided all kinds of emotional support, building me up and even over the past few days, helping me go through the intellectual discourse of what am I going to take from this? Where do I go from this now? How do we make this bigger, better for all of the summit attendees? And he just really helped provide support in just so many different ways, both spoken and unspoken. And so super grateful for him. The summit system that was really put together, the technology system that was built on the back end, custom built by JD and Megan Duncan of Front Door Dynamics. This is the most amazing system. I don't think anything out there exists like this because this is custom to me and my business and my summit and what I need and what I want for my attendees, for my speakers. And we got so many compliments from speakers, so many compliments from attendees on how this whole thing worked. So JD and Megan Duncan, amazeballs. Sharon Otaguro and Shabade Jaglal Ramnath, they are the team who were mostly behind the scenes during the summit and before the summit. Shabade really provides an amazing project management system. She helped keep me on track to make sure that things were getting done on time for the summit, helped me create a roadmap so I knew what needed to be done and when, because that's just not the way my brain works. And then Sharon helped get me into the right mode every day. And she provided those experiences between speakers. She helped facilitate the networking that we did. It was even her idea to do a networking at lunchtime for people, which was absolutely fabulous. And we had attendees in that from all over the world, which was just the coolest thing ever to be able to see that. So to my summit team, I thank you excessively. Another big part of my team, who isn't necessarily summit related, but is really important for this podcast, is Jazzy Wilson with Premier Podcast Promotions. She really helped make sure that the summit was being promoted on social media and in regards to the podcast. And she's just absolutely phenomenal. And I could not put on this podcast and have it be as awesome as it is and grow the audience the way that it is without having a team, having someone like Jazzy help me out. And I've got the turnkey podcast production team helping me with editing this podcast and getting show notes written. So thank you so much to the team at Turnkey Podcast Productions for helping me get this out, because without the podcast, there were a lot of people who didn't even know that the summit was going to exist. So, and without the podcast, the summit wouldn't exist. So that's really where the whole idea of that started. So big lesson number one, the importance of having a team. Now, I've got to say, lesson number two is very closely tied in to the importance of having a team. And lesson two is when someone asks you, how can I help you? You need to have specific answers and know what you need. What do you need? So if someone asks you, how can I help you? Don't try and be freaking Wonder Woman and do it all by yourself, or a super mom or super consultant, super businesswoman. Don't do it all. The best people in business have built a team around them, and those teams were built. My team was built just by Sharon Otaguro asking me, hey, you had a summit that fell apart in 2020. How can I help you make sure that your summit in 2021 doesn't fall apart? And I was able to start saying, well, here's what I need. This is where, that summit fell apart. And she was able to help me create that. And from that, her business was built because I knew what I needed, or at least was able to hash that out with her. So when someone asks, how can I help you? Don't turn them away. Please. It takes a village to build a business. It takes a village to raise a family. It takes a village to build the amazing woman that you are about to become. And so allow these people to step into your life and be a part of it. And know what their strengths are, and ask them to participate in their strengths, and find out what they're willing to offer. Because I never in a million years would have known to have asked for some of the things and received some of the things that I've gotten, because I just didn't know what people could do. But once they told me what they could do, all of a sudden, a whole new world and whole new opportunities opened up for me. So when someone asks, how can I help you? Accept the help. Accept the help. Lesson number 3, the importance of really having amazing connections with people. So one of the things I noticed from sending out the invitation to my speakers is that my speakers who came from my network of BNI, I know you guys hear about it. Gosh, it seems almost weekly recently. But my speakers who came from BNI were the fastest to respond to my invitation to be a speaker. They went in, they signed up, they saw the opportunity, They jumped in. They didn't dawdle. They put in all the information as quickly as conceivably possible so that I could begin promoting them in return as a speaker. And these were people from all over the world. We literally had people from the UK, from Canada, from Singapore, from, let's see, where else did we have people come from? From Nigeria, Sri Lanka. Oh my gosh. We also had Malaysia represented, and a couple different places in Canada, and quite a few states in the United States. So we had people from literally all over the world helping to participate in the summit, and many of those international people came from my BNI network when I put out a request saying I was looking for special people to help with this. And so, know your strong network. Get those connections built, those relationships made, because every single one of them, except for one, I had at least one meeting with beforehand before they became a speaker on the summit. And that responsiveness was it was eye-opening for me. Now, some of the other people who were quick responses were also people who were very strong in my network. The people who took the longest to respond were people who were not as strong in connection yet. And so that also tells me that I need to work on those relationships to help them build up and be stronger. So that way, when I reach out and invite them to sign up, they do so more quickly and don't leave me hanging, because I want to get to the point where they want to participate and it's an exciting thing for them, like it was for those BNI members. So that's another lesson, is just paying attention to how quickly people jump when you ask for something. How quickly do they respond? Because that's going to help let you know where you stand in their network. So it's really important to do that. So, and then how I'm whipping my business into shape is I'm taking these lessons and I'm going to be keeping them front of mind as I move forward with my business. And then, of course, I had 24 amazing speakers on the summit. And so some of the things that I pulled from them are just amazing. So I was able to learn some really great things from our speakers when it came to, for those of you who are in leadership positions, we had so many great speakers on leadership. Sherelle Slays was one who really helped break down that step-by-step progression of leadership, of how you become a leader and evolve as a leader, was just fascinating. Steve Wiltshire also really broke down a really great system for leaders to become really effective and profitable with their teams in order to build and grow. And that was just really neat to see that whole thing. We had a couple of speakers who really spoke to connection. And then Scott Conway and Siva Kumarasan from Malaysia both had really great communication and connection talks. And that was fabulous. I loved Abby Garrison on the summit. Abby Garrison talked about authenticity. And that authenticity piece was so powerful for many of our attendees who were watching when she was speaking. So Abby Garrison, her talk was called Wear the Purple Lipstick. So for those of you who know me at all, you know that purple is my thing. So wearing the purple lipstick was just a really great metaphor for being yourself authentically, confidently, and stepping out there in the world so that you can magnetically attract the right people to you based on who you really are. And that was just awesome. I totally loved, of course, Kathy Callahan. She always puts on such an amazing presentation on the virtual selling system that she has, the virtual party system that she has for direct sales and network marketers who sell virtually, which of course that's been pretty much a thing for 2 years. And if you haven't seen her system, man, you got to go to the summit page, upgrade into the Business Builder or Leadership Accelerator to get access to her system. It is amazing. I had so much fun talking with Chris Murphy. He is a public speaking coach, a speaking coach out of the UK. And so, of course, it was that wonderful British accent, but really getting to dig into those things that help you become a really great speaker, starting from being totally terrified. Now, of course, I've been public speaking since I was 14 years old. I took public speaking classes in high school. I joined the speech team. So public speaking is rarely something that terrifies me. But there were still things that I was able to pull from that. And I cannot wait to share with my clients about how they can move forward in their own public speaking. We had Deb Drummond talking about how to get to number one. And she gave so many great things, sharing about how to move into number one in your company, whether that means number one in personal sales, number one in group sales, number one in anything in your company, and how to get there. And it was so succinct and wonderful. I gotta be honest, the person I was most excited to hear from was Hada Aziz, who is a TikTok expert out of Singapore, and he is the top social media person out of all of Asia. So he does all of the social media for Starbucks, Razer Technologies, and Asics shoes, like soccer cleats. He does all of their social media over in Asia. That's how big a deal this guy is. And he talked about TikTok and how you can utilize TikTok and not creating these like perfectly polished videos, but actually creating content that attracts in the right people for what you're selling and how you're going to get views. And so it was just a really great presentation. And I was so excited about it because it really got me excited about my own TikTok journey for my business account, which I just started. So if you're on TikTok, go find Badass Direct Sales Mastery. And I don't have any videos up at the time of this recording, but I will have videos up very, very soon because I'm going to be sitting down and doing some content brainstorming at my first Marketing Monday with my Badass Direct Sales Mastery community. So just hearing from Hada Aziz was amazing. And he gave so many great ideas that really got the juices flowing within me. And oh my gosh, the LinkedIn training that came from Laura Klein was phenomenal. I mean, just really getting to understand why we should be on LinkedIn, how to get your profile set up in a way that people actually pay attention and it's really optimized so people actually don't like glance at it and then move on to the next profile, but they actually want to connect with you. That was so great. So if one of the other social media platforms that you've been thinking about getting on or hearing about how you really should be on LinkedIn, go check out Laura Klein on the summit. These recordings are available for purchase in the Business Builder package on the summit page. And I will be putting a link here in the show notes where you guys can go upgrade really quickly in order to grab those recordings so you don't miss out on this. And there were I wish I could go on about each and every one of the speakers. They were just phenomenal. And Candice Rodarte, okay, I'm going to wrap up with Candice Rodarte. What I have learned from this woman, not just during the summits, but also from her as a human being and how she connects people and really finds the right people to connect. She doesn't connect to a lot of people, but she connects you to the right people. But her talk was don't lose the keys to your handcuffs, and talking about not handcuffing yourself to limiting beliefs and stress and horrible negative things. And her entire talk throughout the summit and her interaction was really about showing how you can really let those limiting beliefs go and change them into more positive beliefs that serve you. And so that was just really phenomenal. And I was even able to take something away from that, even though I've seen her presentation before, guys. It's not the first time I've seen it, but because it's not the first time I've seen it, I got more out of it. And it was so much deeper and so much more meaningful for me. And that was just amazing. So, and the last thing I'm going to share with you guys was a lesson that really is about, being on Zoom. If you're, and the difference between being on when you're on camera and being on, when you're not on camera, but still interacting in the chat. Because I want to give a shout out to all the attendees who didn't just sit there and listen, but actually participated in the chat. Because here I was on almost for 24 hours in a 3-day period. I wasn't on the entire time because some of our speakers did pre-record with me, but during those recordings, I was still active in the chat with all of our attendees, chatting back and forth about, oh, wow, that was powerful. Oh, did you guys hear that same thing I did? And they were chatting right back with me. So to those of you who showed up and didn't just show up, but actually showed up and engaged for your own learning, your brain is going to remember all of that so much more than those who sat back and didn't participate and didn't type things in the chat and didn't engage for whatever reason, right? And hey, being there and not engaging is better than not being there at all, for sure. So I just want to give a shout out to those who engaged in the chat, because that is going to be something that will move you forward. And for you guys who potentially are running your own virtual events, whether it's a virtual party through Zoom or one of the other, video conferencing platforms that are out there for this kind of thing, being active, engaged in the chat, even when you're not on camera, is so important, because, still building those connections with the people through the chat is really, really important to get those words in front of people and get not just your visual in front of people. Of course, if you can have your camera on, great. That's the best possible thing. But if you can't, or if you're in a Zoom webinar, interact in the chat. Make sure you're interacting with the other attendees as well, making connections and networking that way. This is how you build a support team outside of your own friends, family, neighbors. You begin to build a community of other direct sales people around you who are cheering you on and wanting your success for you just as much as you want it for you, if not more, because they're just watching you from a distance. And the community that we are building here in the Badass Direct Sales Mastery community, and especially in the community on Facebook, is really just astounding to see how people are interacting with each other and really supporting and connecting with each other outside of the community. Because I see you guys liking each other's posts, commenting on each other's posts, cheering each other on when you guys hit big milestones in your businesses and personal life. And I love it. And I'm here for it, and keep doing it. I absolutely love it. So the way I'm whipping my business into shape for the next few months is taking these lessons that I've learned from participating in and putting on this summit. And we do have another one happening in September of 2022. Block out your schedule now. If you're listening to this right now, grab your phone or your paper planner, wherever your calendar is, and block out September 22nd, 23rd, and 24th of 2022. So that way you can be there for the next Badass Direct Sales Mastery virtual summit and participate and learn and grow and build your own team, your own support network here in the Badass Direct Sales Mastery community. Thanks for listening to this. I so appreciate you guys being here and for yourselves, because you guys have a choice of a lot of freaking podcasts out there. And the fact that you come back week after week for this one means more than you will ever know to me. And because of people like you, we have hit in the top 400 of business podcasts in the United States, and we are in the top 700 of all podcasts globally in the business category. And so this is because of you guys listening each and every week and sharing it with one or two or three more people every single week, because you're getting value and you want to spread that success with others. And I thank you for that, because that's how we are going to create and spread success for everybody in this industry. And I thank you for it. So I'm going to let you go because I've rambled on enough, I think, at this point. So you guys know how this goes in the Badass Crew. Stay tuned because there is another badass episode on its way.
Thanks for listening to the Badass Direct Sales Mastery Podcast with your direct sales dom, Jennie Bellinger. Why are you waiting to go to badassdirectsalesmastery.com? Don't make the dom get her whip. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to share it with another rock star that you know in direct sales after you subscribe to the podcast so you won't miss any future episodes. You can also check out the show notes for links and any contact information mentioned in today's episode. We'll see you next time.